you both are running a podcast with professional comics, you've got family, you know, I just have to look after myself and occasionally my husband.
Hello, welcome to the Joy of Gender podcast, the podcast all about joy. I'm Hannah Campbell.
I am G. Lafferty. Yay! And in the studio today, we have a very special guest. I think probably, no shade to the other guests, but the smartest guest we've ever had.
Absolutely. No shade to all the other comedians we've had on, but 100%.
Absolutely. She is a doctor of obstetrics. Oh, I can never even say that word. Obstetrics?
I can't jump in and help you because I don't know.
A gynecological surgeon. She worked for the UN. Just all round amazing. Harvard, Edinburgh University. Please give a huge Joy Agenda welcome for Isi Okolo.
Oh, thank you.
How are you?
And don't worry, because best of the time I can't pronounce that word either.
I can barely pronounce it, then we're fine.
I just say obs and gynae.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, or if you're being American, OBGYN.
Oh, that's right. You have watched enough Grey's Anatomy that you
I
should know
should have
this.
been able to say, but you know what? The whole way
OBGYN.
in, I was going obstetrics. Obstetrics.
We'd just like to point out that this is the earliest that we have ever recorded the podcast. It is at 11 o'clock in the morning, and for comics, that's like 5 a.m. for us. So we're up and we're ready.
You generally don't see 11 unless it's from the other side of.
Yeah, unless we're still up.
Yeah. Yeah, we've not been to sleep and woken up. We're going to sleep and it's 11. So this is the earliest we've ever been up. But, you know, the busyness of the Monkey Bar Studio, big shout out to producer Ewan. They're very busy today and this was the only time slot they could give us. So we're half asleep, but it's going to be great.
Ready. But yeah, thank you so much for coming on, Izzy.
Thank you for having me.
No
This
worries.
is really great. This
I
is
know,
really
we're
cool.
very
I'm
excited. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. What have you been up to recently? All that sort of jazz.
What have I been up to? Okay, I'll tell you about myself and I'll tell you what I've been up to recently. I am an OBGYN doctor and a consultant. I work over in Stirling Labworth area, but we live in Edinburgh and I spend most of my time training in the southeast of Scotland, but I work in the west, which is really nice. And as well as medicine, I do loads of other stuff. I do quite a lot of community work, like voluntary community work with minoritized vulnerable groups. I tried to start a podcast, it flopped. So
We just don't look at our numbers. Ours could be flopping. We've no idea.
We could have 3 listeners. We don't look at it. Yeah, you were telling me, Izzy, that you did try to start it in your shower,
in
which might have been a bit tricky.
with like slightly shadier soundproofing than this place. Like I think it was like 20 tog duvet like all around. But yeah, I had like maybe 5 episodes and then it flopped. But in my free time, I also do a bit of creative writing. Yes. And I love what people call like global health. So I'm from Nigeria originally, but I've lived in Scotland for, I think this might come up to my 20th year, which is quite like impressive. So I think end of this year, I will have lived in Scotland for the same amount of time as I've lived in Nigeria.
Wow.
This year or next year, I'm not sure, I can't remember. And so I do a lot of work in Scotland, but also in Nigeria and Uganda, and a bit of work as well in the past in Brazil.
It's amazing because I was reading you've got a fabulous blog. Like your
you.
blog is, because a lot of comics have blogs and it
but
basically
it's like one square space with like a couple
it's
of...
a Squarespace. Mine's a Squarespace. Thanks for like a feel
Sorry.
scene. A feel scene.
Listen, I don't even have one, so you're doing better than me.
But they look like we've made them. But your blog is so beautiful.
It really is.
It's so colourful and beautiful and also just so stacked full of amazing achievements. It's the sort of thing that I'm reading and going, yeah, I really haven't done enough with my life.
I know, you read all this stuff and so many amazing articles, and then I was like, oh, your like awards and stuff, and I was like, oh my god, how many hours do you have in the day? Because it's just amazing.
It's amazing.
No, it's
but
good.
Also as well, you have a bit of a specialism in menopause.
That's right, yeah.
Which is, as the listeners and viewers know, one of my favourite topics.
It's also one of my favourite topics as well. So yeah,
it's what I am using to blame everything that I am not achieving.
Oh, absolutely. Then we did a gig was it last week or something, and you were just like, you were in a rage.
Oh, I was rage.
You were like, I'm just, and you're like, right, everybody listen up.
I was in a rage.
great.
It was at Monkey Barrel last Thursday. Was it last Thursday?
Yeah, I think it was last
Last
Thursday.
Thursday or last Sunday. And the audience were feeling my menopausal rage. And there was about 7 or 8 women of my age who were loving that
Yeah.
vibe.
You did scare the children at the front, the Gen Zs.
The Gen Zs, which is just a bonus.
Yeah.
You can make a Gen Z cry.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a
You
good
should put that
day.
on your website. Make
Yeah.
Gen Zs cry.
That's an achievement. Yeah.
Award for making the most Gen Zs cry.
But that's so. What sort of got you interested in the menopause and looking into that area?
Yeah, so I guess in my job it's like half and half, obstetrics, which is pregnancy, and then gynecology. And for us especially, I think most gynecologists now, a big part of our work is to do with menopause. That's just because of who we're looking after. And I think as well, so I'd say at least 30-40% of my work is to do with the perimenopause and menopause. Mostly because I run clinics where people have odd bleeding around the perimenopause and menopause. And people don't just come to you with bleeding, they come to you with other things. So in Scotland in particular, we've had, which I think is a really good thing, we've had like an increase in the uptake of HRT, hormone replacement treatment or therapy. So with that, there's like wonderful things, but also a couple not so wonderful things. So I tend to see people when, it's not so wonderful things and trying to reassure them that there's nothing sinister going on, like either like pre-cancer or cancer. So I think it's just because of the caseload of people I'm looking after. And I think as well, the thing that's so strange, even in medical training, even in obs and gynae training, is we don't get taught enough about it, which is kind of shocking. Because if you think about it, most of us, hopefully, touch wood, will live till, I think average age, life expectancy in Scotland for women is 80 something. Maybe on average, you can enter the perimenopause like early 40s. So you're spending almost more than a third of your life in this stage. And they don't get taught about it in school, medical school, not so much. It's only if you choose to focus on it in gynecological training and maybe GPs that you get to know more about it, which is kind of shocking because I think it's the most important part of life. But
and it
nobody
affects
talks
every
about
single woman. That's
every
what's
single
crazy. You don't
woman.
get really taught about it at all, and it's just that is crazy. That
It's not shocking though. I mean,
of course not.
I don't know if you saw, and it made me laugh so much. It was all over the kind of socials last week about NASA. Because it had been declassified after 25 years. The first time they sent a woman into space for a week, and they gave her 100 tampons.
Yeah, that is. It's just and like these are meant to be the brightest minds in the world, and they're picturing the
NASA.
space station like The Shining. Like what's happening? Like 100 that was Sally Ride, first female US astronaut, and it's just like they just so clear and just had no idea. It's
It was
unbelievable.
so funny because the other bit that was the bit that was getting all the headlines, but the bit that I found even more funny was that they were obviously like as part of the space explanation thing, they were testing their urine and she wasn't making enough urine, and they said to her, perhaps you should take your tampon out.
Oh, I saw
my
that.
God.
Yes.
And I was like,
yes,
oh
yes,
my
yes,
God,
yes,
oh my
yes,
God,
yes,
there's
yes.
3 holes.
Oh my God. It's
Yeah,
so
no, I
depressing.
did see that. Yeah.
But it was so funny that they realised, I kind of feel like it's quite good that they realised how stupid it was that they classified it for over 25 years.
They're like, we don't want this to get out.
Nobody could know about it. And then after 25 years, we're all like, seriously?
They're like, yeah, it was a while ago, it was fine.
So, yeah, it doesn't shock me. And even like having seen, obviously, lots of regular listeners to the pod will know that I went through an IVF in order to fall pregnant. And so I'd had like a lot of issues in my early 20s, and I'd had like loop derm treatment and a whole load of stuff like that. But I was quite shocked by a lot of the doctors that I would go and see, both male and female, who didn't seem to have a clue about what was going on, and like opening books while you're talking to them, which I never find that reassuring.
No.
I'm always like, I want you to know this.
Yeah.
Like, I know that's a bit unfair because you do. Like, it's a lot to know.
It's just like something that really affects so many women, and they probably just like dismissed you, and it probably took you a while to get a diagnosis and stuff because they're just like, I don't know. At least now they've got ChatGPT, so
You can just look up.
why women angry.
Why women angry? A whole list of things. What have you done? Answer like a
like one of those quizzes in the magazines.
But it is quite good. The thing that I found, and actually just from being on quite a lot of chat groups and things like that for menopause recently, is that Scotland and particularly Edinburgh do seem to be a little bit ahead of like even what's happening down south and stuff, because I'd read a lot about the menopause, because I was fairly sure that's what was happening. That was in early menopause, that I was expecting to have to go to the doctors and have to like kind of fight for the HRT. Like I thought, because a lot of what you read, it's like women who it's like 2-3 years down the line, they keep going back to the doctors and back and they get no support. Whereas I was really lucky. I don't know if it's like where I live, there's a lot of yummy mummies going through the same thing. They do have a specialist, female menopause kind of specialist in my practice. So I think that helped massively.
Oh, that's great.
But like I went along and they were just like, yep,
oh,
HRT,
brilliant.
we'll start you on this. Which one do you want? Like I had choices. I was like, it's taking me to my 40s as a woman to have choices.
I know.
This is great.
It's just wild, isn't it? Because back to your question, like not why menopause, why women's health? Because I think just growing up, so I grew up mostly in Nigeria, spent some time in Togo, but it was just that you just saw like from a young age, women just being dismissed, women in charge of the household, but like suffering with things that people would just normalize. And I think, it's different from menopause, but like endometriosis, for example, it takes a big cause of pain, painful periods, takes on average like 9-7 years to be diagnosed, because people just just dismissed when they go to see their GP. And you're right, I think Scotland, Edinburgh in particular, is particularly good on the whole menopause front. I think Scotland as a country, because we have this women's health plan and they've put menopause right at the top of the agenda, which is really good. Menopause, endometriosis, heart disease, that kind of stuff. So I think we're way better than we were before, but there's still loads of gaps. And I think the big thing is there's just not enough funding. So apparently I was reading some statistic the other day, and I think in terms of funding for women's health, it's like 3% of all funding in research. Like that's wild.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Funding for like what's it called, Viagra and stuff. It's something crazy like 50. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, my willy doesn't work. Give them all the money. Give them all the money.
Oh, poor baby, we'll sort that for you. Women, you can just deal with it.
But
because another thing that I saw recently was that a lot of drug trials didn't start happening with female trial patients until the 90s. So all the drugs that were getting trialed on men. And so if they didn't work for men, they were just like, right, those are rubbish. They weren't working. There's a very cool book which I've forgotten the name of, but it's basically Invisible Women, I think it's called.
Yes.
And that's great. It was things like they didn't have crash test dummies in cars. They never used women, so it was all men. So that then they were like, why are more women dying in car crashes? And all sorts of stuff like that. All the cancer drugs,
just all for men.
Yeah.
And then people moan at me, like a lot of like the critique that I'll get certainly when we put stuff up online is like, oh, like pure feminism, like you just get a lot of misogyny and pure going on about the patriarchy. I'm like, I wonder why.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder, could we maybe just not die in car accidents? Sorry if that's too much to ask. Like it's pretty basic.
That's crazy.
We would just like to be, equal.
Yeah, exactly. We're just asking, can we just get our foot in the door? We're not even asking to take over the whole car. Can we just get in?
Just get in safely.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I think because of all that research, you're basically like treating women like little men, which is not correct.
That's
drug
true.
dosing and things. I think drug doses are mostly based on men as well. So again, women are more likely to have side effects from drugs, and then be fobbed up as stop complaining, just kind of put up with it. It's actually, when you think about it, in 2025, it's actually wild.
That is so true. They just think we're tiny men.
Yeah,
that's
literally,
such a
we're
good
just
point.
tiny men.
Just like, these are just small men.
We'll just slightly change the name.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard, obviously there's the disparity between men and women, but then there's also the disparity between white women and black women, and particularly when it comes to pregnancies, and just like the mortality rate for black women.
That's right.
I mean, I don't, you'll know the statistics, but I remember when I first heard the statistic, it's like ridiculous. It's like double. Is it double? It's insane.
Oh my God.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's more than double. It's 4 times.
4
Yeah.
times.
So thankfully, in the UK, in Scotland, pregnancy and birthing is safe overall. But there are these disparities, and they shouldn't really exist, based on the color of your skin. And then when you throw in other things like women who are disabled, LGBTQ women who are, again, invisible in the data, women who live like in socioeconomic deprivation, all these layers, it just adds up. And a lot of these things, these are conditions that we know how to treat, we know how to manage. But yeah, these disparities still exist. It's really shocking.
Yeah. Is it because one of the things you mentioned there was about like women's heart conditions and things like that?
Yeah.
Just things like how a heart attack manifests itself in women different to the way it manifests itself in men.
Does it? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, like most women don't get the shooty pain down the arm.
Really?
They get like a sore jaw.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
No, exactly.
You
don't hear about it.
You think it's shooting pains in the arm, that's but it's not, it can be.
No, for most women it's like more like an indigestion feeling and like tightness in the jaw. And the only reason I know that is because a male friend of mine a friend of yours as well, Scott Agnew, who had a heart attack, he didn't realise he was having a heart attack because he presented like the way more like a woman presents. So he had the sore jaw and more indigestion and stuff. And then it was through a conversation with him that I found that out. I was like, okay, this is another thing that we should know.
I know it is. It's just basic stuff that you think we should know, and we just don't, because it just doesn't get talked about as much. So, and I suppose it must be, obviously you're treating all the physical stuff, but mentally as well for people, like it must be that are going through it, they don't know what's happening. And I know that you say like you get like sort of brain fog and stuff sometimes, and just sort of self-esteem as well. Like it must be really hard for people going through if they're like, what is it, just me, what's wrong with me? And to actually get that diagnosis is so important.
I think like I don't know I've said this before on the podcast, but like I thought that I was getting early onset dementia. Like
Which is terrifying.
It was
really,
terrifying.
really
like,
scary.
I was just going, I feel like I'm losing my mind a little bit here, and obviously that's such a terrifying thing. And then as soon as I went on the HRT, I'm like, oh no, it was like hormones. Which is crazy. But we have to ask the question that we have brought you here to ask you.
Yes.
What brings you joy?
Oh, joy, yes. So first of all, I'm a big fan of podcasts and joy as well. And I thought, wow, that's quite a hard question, because I think most people, maybe like, oh yeah, my family, my husband, my partner, my kids. And yeah, all those things obviously bring joy under certain circumstances.
Depending on the day.
It's not constant. It's not constant.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, okay, but what is it about the people you love or the people I love that bring me joy? Is it about them, or is it? I think I'm most joyful around people I love when we are when I've not seen them in a long time, and obviously you're so grateful to them because my family and friends all over the world. So it was my dad's 70th recently, and it was a surprise. He didn't know we were all coming. So we all convened in Zanzibar, people from the States, from Nigeria, from the UK. It was really good. So I hadn't seen some of them in a long time, so that was joyful. And Rod and I talk about this 72-hour rule when it comes to family. When you get past 72 hours, you're like, but actually that didn't happen in Zanzibar. But I think it was just because we were so grateful to be in each other's company after not seeing people for so long. And then another thing that brings me joy is, this is going to sound really silly, but doing my hair brings me great joy. So as you know, Jay,
yes,
I rocked up to that pole dance show with rollers in my hair. It wasn't planned. I put rollers in my hair that morning and it just hadn't dried. And I was like, this took so long. My hair takes so long. I was like, I'm not taking them out. I was like, can I rock this look? I was like, let's put on some sunglasses and just walk around town. And Edinburgh is super diverse, but not as diverse as London. So people will probably just think I'm somebody famous.
I was going to say, it's getting celebrity vibes.
I was literally walking around with these like orange, purple rollers in my hair. And I was like, well, I'm just going to have to go for the show like this with sunglasses. I didn't realize Rod was going to be filming. And so now there's footage of me.
You were rocking
with
the
bright red lipstick.
Yes.
Like I look like somebody that's just checked out some institute. But anyway, it's fine. But no, the hair the next day, which you didn't get to see, that brought me a lot of joy. And And also, I'm very much a people person. That's the best bit of my job, you know. Our jobs are hard. All jobs are hard. Everything you do. And you said, how you know, how many hours in the day do I have? You both are running a podcast, you're professional comics, you've got family, you know. I just have to look after myself and occasionally my husband. Occasionally. Pretty self-independent. And
you've trained him well.
So, you know, it's much easier as opposed to when you're looking after like a family and things like that. But one thing that brings me joy is people. I really like people. That's the best bit of my job. You know, in my job, we're lucky because no day is the same. You know, you're operating some days, you're in clinic. And actually the clinics I run, that focus on menopause, they're the post-menopausal bleeding clinic. And people don't just come to you with bleeding, which is great. People come to you with like hilarious stories, just like ridiculous things. And it's really nice. Also, people come in with a lot of fear because they've had bad experiences, you know. Unfortunately, our specialty is not good reputation in terms of validating women and their concerns. I like to think that we're doing better, but we still have a lot to go. So being able to put people at ease, you know, it's impressive, you know, because my job, I need to be able to convince people to trust me and take their clothes off in less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's a skill
So
men
that's
wish
like
they
a
had.
skill. That's like my skill. It's really impressive. So you really have to be so sensitive and like really focus on the person and really try and hear what people are saying. Also because we don't have that much time. 20 minutes is not a lot of time to get people to tell you what's really wrong, you know. So when you can actually do that, I love that. Like I love that in clinical settings when you can actually get people to relax and people feel like they've made the decision that's right for them.
Yeah. And do you think you've learned those? Are you just sort of always been an empath, or have you learned these people skills just over the years of doing your job?
That's a good question. So I'm a middle child. Well, I was until my dad got remarried and had 5 more children. But growing up a middle child, I think I was definitely always like the mediator.
Right.
And in the middle, an extroverted middle child in the middle of 2 introverts was fun.
Okay.
So I think I did get those skills growing up. Right. And then I always gravitated towards things that involve doing things with people, like team sports or community work. And my dad is a really good, I think growing up, I modeled a lot of my behavior. My dad is the male, older version of myself. I like to think sometimes. All the good bits, not the bad bits. But yeah, I think working with women, for women, you do build a lot of empathy. There's probably a bit of personality in it as well. But yeah, I think that. And also doing work that involves supporting other vulnerable groups. I think you have to build that.
Yeah, definitely.
Popcorn brings me great joy.
Oh, great.
Salted or sweet?
Ooh, mixed. I know. I just can't make up my mind. I'm a Libra. Yeah.
I love that. My little boy loves popcorn, and he's like, I'm a salty girl.
Are you? I've often said that about you.
Yeah.
See, I'm sweet.
I'm a salty girl, and he's playing about with sweet at the moment.
Okay.
No, I'm not here for it.
You're like, I draw the line.
I'm like, so now he's having to share his popcorn with his dad, and I'm getting one to myself. I'm like, you take your sweet nasties. But maybe what we should do,
mix it up.
Best of both.
Then we can
compromise.
have a family. Yes, compromise.
That compromise.
Feel good. Why do you love popcorn so much?
I don't know. I think it's just a quick, easy snack, and I actually love it. Sweet and salt, but I also love just mixing different flavors. You're probably gonna hate this, but I will sometimes put peanut butter on popcorn.
Oh no,
peanut butter, honey. I think once I put, what's that called? Tahini.
Oh yeah.
What's that thing? It's like tagine. It's that spicy thing they put around the rim of a spicy margarita. I don't know. It's got. I don't know what's in it, but it's delicious.
Like salty,
and a bit chili in it as well.
Yeah, like the spicy.
So I just mix loads of stuff. Oh. Yeah, one of my toxic traits is I put chili in everything, but I forget that I put chili in, and then so you get a double dosing of chili.
Oh my god,
I like that. I'm on board for double chili.
I would die. I am not good with
you're
spice.
very vanilla.
I'm very vanilla. I grew up in a household where sometimes salt's a bit much. So plain, bland, not good with spice. So
we have so much spice. Like my husband's a really good cook, and like everything, all of our curries, all of our chilies are like, whenever we have people come in, we have to be like, oh, we need to dial this back to Scottish palate.
Yeah.
Like, when it's like, that's a bit, is that pepper?
Just got it back in my throat there.
So, but I love that. I love nearly everybody that comes on the podcast mentions a food, like as bringing them joy. Like, you know, some people it's all about the food. Some people it's just like, you know, popcorn is something that I love the smell of popcorn because it brings me back to memories. When I was growing up, we had a video store. I know I'm ancient, like, and you used to get popcorn. They used to give free popcorn while you were like browsing to see what you wanted to choose, and then whatever you chose would always be out, so you'd have to choose something else. But it always reminds me of like. The smell of it reminds me of walking into that video shop as a kid.
Yeah, and I think it reminds you of like going to like the cinema as well, like, especially back in like the 90s, and like when it was such like a big event to go to the cinema. And like I remember going to see the first Harry Potter film in the Dominion, and I just like I think it was one of like it's the first cinema experience I really remember, and like I loved the books, and like we all like got popcorn, and then seeing it come to life and like what you had imagined in your head, and then working out that it's pronounced Hermione. Not Hermione, as everybody had been saying up until that point. Hermione. Well, my dad used to read me the books, and he's very dyslexic, so I think it was just kind of whatever was going.
It's like, see, that just speaks so to me because I'm dyslexic, and I read to Otis every night that I'm home to do it, and yeah, there's a lot. He's reading this thing called Villains Academy at the moment, which is a bit of school for villains. And they all have quite a strange, like, because they're all like werewolves and Death's son is there. And yeah, I often think, I don't know if I'm saying this word correctly.
But he doesn't know, it's fine. Shut up and eat your popcorn, yours is fine.
Of course, we've asked you the joyful question.
Yes.
We also always ask our guests. I don't know why we still put this picture up, but I still do.
It's just, and we can change. I quite like it. It's just, this is Jay's joy colours, and she's like, it doesn't bring me joy. I don't know. Yeah. So yeah, what's your joy colours? What kills your joy, Izzy?
Badly done poached eggs.
I'm with you on that one.
Not because I love poached eggs, just that it just brings out the rage in me. You can ask Rod. Badly done poached eggs, and I just like.
And I'm worse when there's like slimy and not.
But we need to ask the question because, like, what do you think a badly poached egg is?
Well, the thing is, all the ones I make, I don't know how to make poached eggs, and I guess because the poached eggs I like are not super runny, but at least a bit firm. And then you cut into it, and then it rolls. And certainly the egg white's actually cooked, which never is the case when I make it. So
what kills your joy is your own poached eggs.
Yes.
And you keep doing it, even though you're like,
keep trying. That's my second toxic trait. I keep trying, and when I'm attempting to make poached eggs, that's usually a signal to Rod to leave the vicinity.
Have you tried all the tricks? Have you tried the vinegar?
I tried that, and then I bought these like poachy bags.
I don't like them because they make them too compact and it loses the texture of it.
So that makes me very sad.
I am actually very good at poached eggs. It's one of my very few skills.
Yeah.
And I feel like it was like birthed to me. I don't know because I don't remember anybody teaching me.
I think because I'm quite good at poached eggs. I think it's just, but I'm not a good cook in any way.
What do you do? What do you both do?
So my thing is, I do them in a frying pan.
Oh.
So not in a pot. So it's like, so the water just covers the top of them. And I do the swirl.
I have to do the swirl. Very important.
Swirl, which also reminds me of IVF. But like,
that's why you're so good at them.
My eggs don't work, but the poached ones do. So if you swirl the water and then you put the egg, I think this is all nonsense, but this is what I do. So if you swirl the water clockwise, but you put the egg in like anti-clockwise so that you're going back on the swirl.
Right.
And it thingies them, so then you don't get like the jellyfish. Where
it keeps it all together.
I get.
And sometimes I'll use a little bit of vinegar. If I'm doing loads, I'll use a little bit of vinegar.
So can you do more than one at a time?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I can only do one at a time, but they come out great. But I can. It's so if I'm making poached eggs and we're having 2 each, I'm like, right, you start eating yours because I can only do. But yeah, vinegar, good mix, shove the egg in, and then I put it in for about 3 minutes because I like mine quite runny.
But do you get the rage because I love a poached egg? But do you ever get the rage if you go like you pay for poached eggs and they come in there and they're crap.
Yes. Yeah. That's very painful.
Would it make you send it back? Are you a sender backer?
Oh, I am. I am. Yeah. And Rod hates it, and I'm like, oh, no, sending it back. Definitely sending it back. Yeah.
Men are so weak when it comes to, like, my husband would sit and eat something that tastes disgusting but stone cold rather than send it back.
The wrong meal.
I can't. I would just be like, it's delicious, thank you. And I should, and I don't. And it's just, or like when the poached eggs are fine, or then it's like just a load of like nasty hollandaise sauce on the top that's not made properly as well.
When it's
really
split.
sweet and stuff.
And you're like, I paid $10.94 for this.
No, send it back. Send that back, definitely.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so poached eggs. And like, okay, I think, this whole like, I think I'm a quite positive person, but I have a problem with like toxic positivity, but and I think that's very different from joy. I think joy doesn't really, it's not like static. It doesn't depend on an individual or circumstance, and something that brought you joy today, tomorrow could unfortunately not bring you joy.
Yeah.
And it's different. In fact, it just feels more grounded and solid than just like the toxic positivity that you see banded around. But the thing that definitely doesn't bring me joy is extreme negativity. I think that's the joy killer for most people.
Such a Scottish trait as well, the extreme negativity.
No, but like extreme negativity, because I also don't like it when I get it when people are trying to get you to be like, oh no, it's okay, you're fine. It wasn't that bad. And sometimes you just need to let people grieve and be sad, and you honor their feelings. Yeah. But then, you just have to, after they've done that, then to move forward with that. But I think when it's like, just toxic negativity that goes on and on, I struggle with that. And then I have to like take myself out of the environment and be like, okay, bye.
And you're right, it's a lot of that in Scotland. And a lot of just even like, you're like, oh, how was your day? Oh, not bad.
Yeah.
It's like just that slight, you know what I mean?
Okay, that's okay.
You think,
I mean, I know, that is negative, but I don't think that's like extremely negative. It's not the kind of stewing and negativity and stuff like
Spiteful.
that. You know how everybody has that friend that no matter what's going on, they're just, you could be like, oh, how are you? Oh, well.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, like, and I remember my mum when I was a teenager and I was having a real difficult time. My mum saying this thing, and I'm sure it's not hers, but she was like, "Oh, friendship should be like radiators, like so. Friendship should be when you're with somebody, they make you feel warm. It shouldn't be like a drain,
right? And you got to bleed them sometimes.
You got to bleed the radiators. Yeah, she's like, and that was basically her analogy. She's like, sometimes friendships need bled.
Oh wow!
And I was like, she's a West Coast woman,
so that's straight to it. That's very true though.
Yes.
But like that sort of, I think sometimes when you've been around someone, I remember I used to work with somebody who was incredibly negative, and like I would like for days after having spent time with them, you realise like what an impact that it had on you. And actually particularly during COVID, I got into a situation with somebody, and they weren't a negative person, they were actually quite a positive person, but they were very negative about a particular situation that we were both in. And actually I got really caught up on it as well. And now that I've had distance from it and I look back on it, I think actually I don't think that situation was as bad as it felt in the time. I think it was, I just kind of, that person was so angry about it that I got
dragged into that
feeling. And it's quite easy to, like, it's much harder to spread joy.
So much harder to spread joy than negativity spreads like wildfire. And I think
misery loves company.
Yes, it's commiserating. And there's definitely a space and time for commiserating. But I think maybe also because I'm an empath and an extrovert, so I need people, unlike my sister and husband who don't. So I think I'm quite affected by it when it gets to a certain amount. Yeah. Why is it so hard to spread joy? Like, why?
I don't know. It is. I mean, we're doing in the podcast. It's quite funny because the last couple of things that we've had go viral have been in the Jay's Joy Killer section of the show.
Yeah.
Because they make much better viral videos. Like just the way we can cut them.
Yeah.
We've upset runners.
Oh, we've upset the runners are angry.
The runners are still angry every day. It's been a month.
This week, every single day, there's been a comment about the video about this. Basically, we're talking.
I saw that.
Yeah, and it's always like, this isn't funny and blah blah blah, and it's every single day. There was one this morning, and I was just like, add that to the list. Like,
the one that I found really funny this week was a man, of course, and he was like, I've run a marathon. That had nothing to do with anything else he said. And I was like, you just wanted to let everybody on the internet know you've ran a marathon.
Exactly. But it's like the people that are commenting this, it's like, actual runners, most people were like, this was pretty funny. Because a 10K to an actual runner is the people that have maybe done it like once. But then there's something like only 7% of people online actually comment. It's like it's just the lunatics. But hey, listen, they make our reel go viral. We'll take the views. They make the reel go viral, and now it's the tea drinkers that are after it. The tea drinkers are angry. The American tea drinkers, because we upset them. But it's quite funny in that even us, we're doing a joyful podcast, and it is the not joyful bits that we put out, because those are the bits that actually make people take notice and then like listen to the podcast. Because we have put out some really nice joyful clips that. People are just not. People just don't. They're like, oh yeah, that's nice. Yeah. People love a cause. But also as a clown, and like the pair of us are, you stand on stage, and I think it's like such a privilege to do the job that we do. And when you talk about toxic positivity and toxic negativity, I think comics either fall into one of those two. You either have comics who are really, really positive, or you have comics that never stop moaning until they're on stage, and then they're 20 minutes and then they come back off and they're miserable. They're like, oh my God. You're like, okay. And it is. And you can't get help but like get swept up in that as well sometimes. And you're like, it really wasn't that bad. They're like, oh, it was terrible. Okay. But I think it is so funny. I always remember when I was pregnant thinking that I was going to have a happy child, because his main sound that he was hearing was laughter. Oh, that's so sweet. Nice, consistently. And he is a happy child. Oh. And he's a funny child as well. That's brilliant. Well, otherwise I was sending him, trying to find another one. Like, there's lots of people always go, oh, he's really funny. And I'm like, you're damn sure he's funny. Damn right he's funny. He knows priorities. Sending him back, asking for a new child. He's no choice. He has to be funny. But he's, but I think that is because I do really believe it. And he was such a chilled baby and stuff. Yeah. Because I do think there was something in the fact that he was surrounded by laughter. I think so as well. It's like the endorphins, and he feels good, so they're relaxed. And I don't know. I'm not a doctor, but it sounds about right. That sounds believable. Sounds believable. Yeah, definitely. Cool. Yeah. We'll finish up. Yeah. We'll do a last little section called Hannah's Headlines. It's me looking like a newsreader. There should be looking like a newsreader yourself. So I bring in a story that I've seen that has brought me joy or has caught my attention or something. And actually on the train of female empowerment, on Monday there is the Blue Origin space rocket is going up into space with a group of women. Oh. So it is. So Katy Perry is on this. So it's an all female space flight. She's going to space. So Katy Perry's going to space. Yes. Well, there's a lot of asterisks to this story. So basically, Blue Origin, the company is owned by evil overlord Jeff Bezos, is sending 5 women into space, and it's Katy Perry, Gayle King, and then there's a film producer and 2 scientists, right? So when I say go into space, what they're doing is that it's going to last, the trip lasts 11 minutes. So they're going to the edge of space. I think it's called the Kármán line, which is like the recognised point of space. So they go up for 11 minutes, they float about a bit, and they come back down. So this is the idea. So it's, it's been posted as like female empowerment and inspiring girls. Is it? So I think yes, but the problem is that it's not. There's only 2 actual scientists on it. There's a rocket scientist and a astrophysicist or something that's going as well. But Katy Perry's been pushed front and centre. So it's like, oh, I want to get women into STEM. But it's like, so what's the message here? Become a pop star. And the other person that's going is Jeff Bezos' fiance. So it's like either just get a rich man or become a pop star and you'll get into space. So it's a very I like the idea of kind of it. What are they doing while they're up there for 11 minutes? Nothing. So what's the point now? No, great question. It's just it's like Blue Origin just trying to make a bit of buzz. I wanted to be so on board at the start of this. Yeah, me too. On the surface it sounds great, but when you get into it, it's like all it is a bunch of celebrities getting rocketed into space for 11 minutes. And the problem is it's I was going to send some celebrities into space. Wouldn't he be? It wouldn't be these ones, and I wouldn't be bringing them back. There's quite a few that I would be like, there's an experiment. Well, I mean, he's putting his fiancée on there, so talk about, it's like, it's a bit risky. Do you not think that this is a little bit like rich people doing rich people stuff that kills them, like the people that keep going down in bloody submarines? Did we learn nothing from the submarine? I just, what it's like with this commercials, it's it's by the 1% for the 1%, and it's not, and it's not. They're doing no research. It's not like NASA or the ESA or anything. It's just like Bezos and Musk having a dick measuring competition. Who can send up the biggest rocket into space? That's why you send things into space, and it's just exhausting. And so it's happening on Monday, so I'm sure it'll be all over the news there. But so it's a little bit. You know, it's a lot of, well, one of the first things Katie was quoted as well is, oh my God, what am I going to wear? Which is not maybe. And then and then she was like, oh, I'm so interested in stars and I've been reading about string theory. I was like, okay. She's like, I'm really into astronomy and astrology. I was like, oh no, you were so close. Not astrology. Please, not astrology. I swear to God, if she's like, oh, so I'm a Capricorn, I'm like, no. So yeah, it was that was an interesting story this week.
Thoughts on this?
This is I not heard about this actually. It's just hilarious. I think the fact that she's going up there is quite random.
There's so many other amazing women that you could put in there.
Yeah, because I feel like there's been loads of stuff, female astronauts, scientists. You could totally have sent them up there. Very strange. Very strange. I think this is like a just something to get some PR for the company.
It's complete PR, but it's going to be a packed flight because there's 5 of them, so there'll be 500 tampons on board. So it's going to be not a lot of room for anything else
for 11 minutes.
11 minutes. You know.
Is this going to be a Guinness Book? Is this going to be the most number of women in space at any one time?
It's the first all-female flight since the first women in space ever, Valentina Tereshkova. But they're not driving it. They can't trust them to drive it. My God, it's an autonomous thing. So that's the first all-female flight.
So hold on, nobody's driving it. The robots
are driving it.
No, thank you. See, we're the same. We're like, no,
because
not the robots.
Qualified. There's no pilots in there. It's like you've got like I said, one rocket scientist, and then I think there's another sort of scientist. But it's I just feel like it could have been cool if they maybe put different people in it. But also anything that Jeff Bezos does, I'm like evil. Because it's just, so...
I know, he is very evil, but also things get to your house so quickly.
We love
to boycott it, but honestly...
But I'm surprised, like, a lot of these people would have, grown up as well watching, like, The Challenger crash. I wouldn't even go into space if that was one of my core memories.
It's more the thing being piloted by a robot. Like, I'm not even trusting the robot cars. Because I watch a lot of medical dramas, as people who listen to the pod know. I love a medical drama. And quite often, like, so one of the ones that I watch is The Resident. Don't know if you've ever watched it.
Yeah,
and they've always got like, it's like she's using like a robot basically so that they can do these. So do they actually have things like that?
Yeah. And here in Edinburgh, in fact, every single health board in Scotland except one have robotic surgery now. Ooh. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's really good. I mean, I think there's quite a steep learning curve to master it. But once you've mastered it, it's amazing for outcomes and for just delivering better surgical care. So
wow.
That's pretty cool.
Because they're always practicing on apples.
And grapes.
And grapes, they're always like peeling a grape or cutting up an apple. Have you used anything like that? Have you used kind of...
Like laparoscopic surgery, yes. Yeah. So that's one of the things I do.
Quite tricky to get hang of.
So luckily we get we get reasonable amount of training whilst we're in training doing what's keyhole surgery, I guess what people would call it. But you get the hang of it. Apparently, playing computer games is really good for learning laparoscopic surgery.
Oh, there we go.
Well, I am very good at Mario Kart.
If you're a good gamer, then you might be good at like laparoscopic surgery. Yeah, no, it's really good. It's very satisfying.
But I think that's like one of the things you get terrified, isn't it? Like I don't like these driverless cars.
No.
Yes.
I don't like the thought of somebody take me up into space when there's not actually anybody at the wheel.
Yeah.
The surgery stuff is cool because there's still somebody doing it, but they're probably going to get to the point, aren't they, where again, that's like driverless surgery.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and with laparoscopic surgery, you are doing it.
Yeah.
You're just looking at a screen. With robotic assisted laparoscopic surgery, what happens is the patient's there's always an anaesthetist. So somebody's keeping you alive. And there's usually other assistants by the table. Then the person operating the robot is potentially in the same room but away, and they're not scrubbed. So they're kind of, there's different robots, but there's some that look, it's like this massive hooded machine, and then they're just operating on this robot.
Yeah, because there's ones where they might not be in the same country.
Yes.
Like they're talking about that. I don't know if they've actually started doing that yet, but like if there's like a real specialist in wherever and you're in Scotland, they're talking about like, so they might be able to get the
skill.
Wow,
Yeah.
You
But
wouldn't
there'll
want the
always be
Wi-Fi to crap out,
somebody else in the room as a backup.
You're not like that's the bit where I'm like, yeah, but there is someone
there
else
always
who's
is
good as
someone
well.
The wheels spinning and they're like, oh my god, they're bleeding out quick.
Yes, uploads.
Apple, please update to 12.6. No, come on.
That's my experience with any sort of software. Well, on that, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for
coming on Joy
thank you,
Agenda.
Izzy.
Thank you for
It's been so great to talk to you.
And if people want to find out more about all the fabulous work that you do, can you look into that camera and tell them where to find you?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, Dr Isi, I think it's Dr_Isi_O, or you can look me up on my website, drisiokolo.com.
Yay.
Lovely. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much.